ROUVY Unchained.
Hello and welcome to the ROUVY podcast. I'm your host, Zach Nair, and today we are joined by not one, but two guests. They will soon be attempting one of the toughest challenges in cycling. As a couple, they will be riding their bikes all the way around the world. Their cycling journeys began only a few years ago, but now they are not only attempting a circumnavigation, they are also going after a world record. Together, they'll ride tens of thousands of miles, face tumultuous weather, battle mechanicals and daily logistics, and fight off sleep deprivation on the world's most remote roads, all while pushing the limits of partnership, resilience, and human potential. In this episode, we'll dive into their motivation, preparation, and mindset behind an attempt of this scale and what it means to ride around the world. Our guests today are Amy and Kyle Hudson. Welcome to the show, Amy and Kyle. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So I wanted to first ask you how each of you got into cycling, and did you jump into ultra endurance cycling right away, or was that something that happened over time?
Yeah, so I started cycling in 2021. I was working as a mental health nurse, and very ironically, I struggled myself. And Kyle, my husband, sat next to me here, randomly bought me a bike, like just a basic run-of-the-mill bike. I'd not ridden a bike for about 10 years since I was a kid. I didn't ask for a bike, but he just thought it would help me with my mental health to get out of the house. And yeah, it really did help me, and pretty much just went for long miles as soon as I started riding, because the longer that I was outside, the better I felt, and it was a really good distraction for me during a really difficult time. So yeah, my cycling journey sort of started from a very low place, and without the bike, I don't know where I'd be. But Kyle, do you want to share how you started as well?
Yeah, so obviously I bought you a bike and got you out and about on the bike, trying to make you feel better. And then a year passed and I was like, I'm missing out on this. Maybe I should get out a little bit. And at first I was like, no, this isn't for me. Like, I'm never going on a bike again. And then, yeah, stuck at it and then really started to enjoy it. And then my long distance progressed a little bit more slowly into it.
Mm.
And yeah, maybe started off with a few 50-mile rides and gradually got longer and longer. So
Yeah, my first ride was with my dad, and it was like 48 miles. So he didn't break me in lightly. So I gave Kyle the same treatment, and it ended with a few swear words.
and it's a bit hilly where we live.
Yeah, there's lots of hills around us, but you love them now, so
Yeah,
it's okay.
What do you think it was about cycling and just being on the bike that you think helped you get to a better place and also helped bring the two of you closer together?
I think it was a distraction from what was going on in my head. So I really struggled with sort of intrusive thoughts and a lot of worries in my job, and worrying about what happens if one of the people I work with gets more unwell and I'm the nurse that's responsible for them. And eventually did have to leave my job because I was too unwell. And I think, yeah, being on the bike just gave me that distraction, because when you're pushing up a hill and you can't breathe, and all you can focus on is literally like getting up to the top of that hill and you're breathing and counting your pedal strokes, you can't think of anything else. So it was like the one time where I wasn't living in like an anxious state. I could just really feel like an ounce of happiness again, or just an ounce of myself. So yeah, it really did help me. And I think you started, didn't you, Carl? Not because of struggling, but just because you saw how much happier I was on the bike and thought that you needed to give it a go, didn't you?
Yeah, and also spending time with you as well, because obviously you'd struggled and was going out on your own and stuff and with your dad, but then obviously I was at home on my own and I was sort of like, well, let's do it together, it'd be quite nice.
Yeah.
And then you still did stuff on your own, but then I joined for other stuff and obviously helped support and stuff. So
Yeah, I used to be able to drop him on a hill, but I can't anymore, unfortunately. So
much to my delight.
Yeah, so you came from cycling and doing some decent miles to, what was that moment like when you both looked at each other and said, we're going to ride all the way around the world?
Well, we were actually cycling home from Italy. So last year, was it last year? Yeah, last year we cycled 2,000 kilometres from Pinarello factory in Italy to the Pinarello store in London. And we just really enjoyed it. Like, it was a challenge. It was 250k a day for 8 days, carrying all our stuff on our bikes. And we'd obviously built up to that, like from quite near the start of cycling. We went for the long miles and we built it up. We did some tours in the UK and we went for this one last year. And we were on the second to last day and we were just like, oh, we don't want this to end, although it's really hard. It's like such an amazing experience. And we just started talking about, oh, what could we do that'd be bigger that means that we could do
You
it for-
started talking about
Well,
it.
yeah, it
initially.
was my idea actually. And we started thinking, oh, what could we do? And then I was like, oh, I wonder what the record is for the fastest couple around the world. And then we started looking it up, didn't we, while we were riding? And then we just looked at each other and we were like, maybe we could do that. And you weren't very convinced at the start, were you?
I was definitely not convinced at the start and I was dead against it, but
Yeah.
I came round to the idea pretty quickly and now I'm very excited.
Yeah. So we just kind of, the idea happened on a bike ride. So yeah.
That's so fitting. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So when it came to planning the trip, why now? How did you pick which months or which time of year you were going to target? And do you have a specific day that you're planning to start on?
Yeah, so we already knew. So this year I already did a big challenge, which was cycling every stage of the men's Tour de France plus the transfers. So that was kind of the focus this year. And we also thought it would kind of maybe show ourselves a little bit. And for myself, because I'm quite a self-doubter, kind of proved to myself that I can do that distance. Obviously, it's going to be very different around the world because we're going to have bags on our bike and all of that. So yeah, so we went for next year because it gives us a little bit of time. So our planned date is the 1st of May to start.
Yeah.
We've made a spreadsheet of the weather in every country that we're going through, haven't we?
And had some advice off people that have done it in the past. And it's trying to find that happy medium of weather patterns in which is the best way to do it. So that's sort of where you come from that date.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really avoid like extreme weather. We're going to be cold in New Zealand and we're going to be hot
It's not going
in
to be
America.
pretty.
Yeah, so, but we've tried to do it the best that we can, and we want to make sure that we definitely get home for Christmas next year.
Yeah.
If we're not home by December, something's gone really badly wrong.
Yeah.
When it came to those logistics and planning everything, like the route, the support strategy, was it something that, did you start from scratch or did you start with the rules? Because I know you're going for an official world record. So can you tell us a little bit about how that plays into your logistics and planning following those rules? Are they pretty strict, I might imagine?
Yeah, so actually the rules are, I wouldn't say they're strict.
Strict in what you have to do.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say they're like difficult. So the rules are you have to do 18,000 miles cycling and you have to do 29,000 miles, including your flights. You have to travel in the same direction, but you can go up and down, so you can zigzag. There's no rules on like what continents, you can do whatever you want, so you can miss continents out. Obviously, you don't want to go for any war zones. And you have to cross the world at 2 opposite points. So for us, that's Wellington in New Zealand and Madrid in Spain. And you just have to start and finish at the same place. And then there's lots of like more logistical things, like you have to get photos every day. You have to get receipts every day to prove you've been places.
A lot of witness signatures.
Yeah, witness signatures at different points and all of that stuff. But yeah, that's going to be the most difficult thing, I think, on the road, is remembering to take, I don't think we'll have trouble remembering to take photos, but we might struggle remembering to keep receipts and things like that. So we've got to be really on it with that. But yeah, it's not too bad.
We did start planning the route prior to having the rules though.
Yeah.
So we sort of knew sort of what route we were going to go in.
Yeah.
Obviously then worked the rules a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you walk us through exactly what that route is? Do you know off the top of your head the countries that you'll be going through?
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I've been looking at it every day for like the past month. I've literally just finished finalising the route, which has taken so long to do, like over a year I've just been planning. So yeah, we're going to start in England in our closest hometown of Derby. Then we're going to head down to Portsmouth. We're going to get the ferry over to France. Then we'll do France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Bulgaria, Hungary, Turkey, Georgia. Then we fly from Georgia to Australia. Then we do Australia, New Zealand, and then we fly from there to Alaska. And then we do Alaska, Canada, come into the USA in North Dakota, go down to just south of Kansas City, and then we head east and then back up north again, back into Canada, around to
Nova Scotia,
Nova Scotia,
Halifax.
Halifax Airport, fly from Halifax to Lisbon, and then it's Portugal, Spain, France, back home. So yeah, we're kind of following we're not copying the route, but we're following a similar route to what Lyle Wilcox, who's got the female solo record, following a similar route to that, but we're not doing it supported, we're doing it self-supported, so we won't have anyone following us, unfortunately. It'll just be us two with our bike bags.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about the difference between supported and self-supported, especially within kind of that rule set?
Yeah, so the weird thing is that Guinness doesn't actually differentiate between. So someone that does self-supported is judged the same that someone that is fully supported. So if you're fully supported, it might be that you have a car, a team following you. You could have like a physio. You could have as many people as you want following you. You don't carry anything on your bike.
No drafting still, though, no?
Still no drafting, yeah, so you can't ride with anyone in front of you. You can ride with people behind you. There's no rules on that. And then obviously self-supported is where you have everything on your bike, in bike bags. Nobody's following you. You're just doing it on your own. So yeah, there's no rules to differentiate. But the kind of good thing about that is that although we are self-supported, if people want to come and give us a cheer or, give us some food or come and give us a bed for the night, we will accept it. But most of the time it would just be the two of us.
Yeah.
And what went into your decision to do it supported versus unsupported? Or you're doing it unsupported? So what did you think about that for a while, or was that kind of you already knew at the beginning?
We sort of knew from the start that it was always going to be unsupported because that's something we really enjoyed about our other trips. So yeah, we sort of knew pretty early on, didn't we? And obviously the cost is a lot more to have it supported as well.
A lot
with a lot of time. Yeah, a lot of supplies, a lot of things that you need to involve in that. So
yeah, I thought about we like that, we love a challenge and we like being on our own and riding, and although being supported obviously is a little bit easier, yeah, I think there's something nice about doing a ride like this and knowing that you've kind of done it just the two of you and it's just you living out.
It's more of an adventure.
Yeah, it's more of an adventure, just living out your bike bags, and if something goes wrong, although that's the worst case, if something goes wrong you have to sort it out yourself, and that's not nice, but it also, I think it adds to the challenge and we like a challenge. So yeah.
With planning those extreme logistics, is there a single hardest thing that you've had to kind of work through, whether it's visas or border crossings or something else, maybe extreme weather? Is there anything that pops into your mind?
I think one of the difficult things is definitely going to be the flights, when we have to do double flights, like 2 flights to get somewhere, and we've got to hopefully rely on people to bring us some cardboard boxes to the airport,
packing the boxes up,
packing our bikes in, getting them on the plane, because obviously we can't travel with a bike box like we would normally have when we went abroad, so that's going to be a bit of a stress. And also we did try and do the route so that we could include some of Asia, but it just was too difficult. It would either mean cycling through war zone countries or adding 2 extra flights just to get to Thailand, just to do 400 miles. And it just didn't feel right to do that, like from an environmental point of view, but also just logistic wise. So there's been difficulties in that. And then I think the thing that comes to mind for me of what I'm scared of is the stray dogs that we've been told about.
We didn't think about that before, but we have now.
Yeah, like apparently in Turkey, Georgia, it's quite bad for stray dogs that can come and
so we're thinking of preventative measures.
Yeah, I'm thinking of taking an air horn just to scare them off.
There's a lot of concerns in terms of like what dangers you might face and stuff, i.e. like bears. I know it sounds extreme, but there's all these little things you do have to think about, and the more you focus on one thing, then you find yourself thinking about it a lot.
Yeah.
Like with a stray dog, since someone mentioned that to me, I've not stopped thinking about it.
I know.
And I keep watching videos like, how do I prevent this?
And obviously you've got like the thing I think every cyclist worries about is being hit by a car. That's always a worry for me. I've been hit by a car twice, so I've not had much luck with that. But we are just going to try and obviously be as bright as possible. I think when you're in a pair, it's quite good because it's quite hard to miss 2 people. We do stick out on the road.
And also you can work together in terms of like looking out for a storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and for extreme weather,
we had that on the test route.
Yeah, we've ridden in a storm for 7 days of torrential rain when we rode to Prague to see ROUVY actually a few weeks ago. So we've had a bit of testing with that. But obviously there's always things like hurricanes in America and things we're not used to. So, but they're things we can't control. So we can only we can prepare, but we can't control. So
We just have to shelter and
yeah,
get around it.
we have a plan for everything that can go wrong, but there's things you can't control. So as long as we have a plan for all the possibilities we can think of, then we know what we're going to do. But realistically, when you're out on the bike and anything can happen, you just kind of have to think on your feet. And yeah, that's what I love about bikepacking, because you set off and you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, a bit
So
of problem solving becomes part of it as well.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned the stray dogs. Was there anything else that came up with your research or with talking with other people that you just completely hadn't thought of until someone told you about it?
Probably more so, obviously, diseases and stuff in certain countries, like obviously having vaccinations and stuff, you got to be wary about certain risks in certain countries. But really, it was just that one. And Australia was a big worry for me initially because I hate snakes and spiders. But then someone quickly put my fears aside and said, look, you'll be absolutely fine. So then it became the bears and then the stray dogs, and that's all we've really had to think about, really.
Yeah, there's not been much. I mean, we're very lucky that in our village is the round the world record holders for the fastest tandem around the world. And they did it a few years ago. So I've been meeting up with them quite a bit. And they're the one that told me about the stray dogs. I was like, well, thank you for that, putting that worry into my head.
But they also told some tricks.
Yeah, they told us some tricks about having some bread to throw at them and things. So, yeah, but other than that, I think we've pretty much had everything sorted. Like, we knew about visas, and they also advised us about what to pack. So, like, kit that we might need that we hadn't thought of.
And kit they packed that they didn't need.
Yeah, like they took a tent with them. They said if they did it again, they wouldn't take a tent because they didn't really use it. That if you need to sleep outside, you can sleep in your sleeping bag and bivy bag, because most nights will hopefully have accommodation. So yeah, it gave us stuff to think about, because I was really set on taking a tent. But now they've said that, I'm like, oh, maybe we don't need it. And it's
And you
wasted.
don't want to overpack.
Yeah. So.
On the topic of equipment, I'm sure it's a very, very long list of things that you're bringing with you. Have you weighed the bikes and equipment all together? Are there anything kind of out of the ordinary? Like, of course, you're bringing kits, but anything out of the ordinary for this kind of adventure that people might be surprised that you're taking?
I think it's all the usual stuff you take on a bikepacking trip. I think we will have some emergency, like, the dry food pouches. Hopefully we won't need to use them, because hopefully we'll always be able to get some food and stock up, but you never know for emergency. Waterproof trousers, something that we wished we had when we cycled to Prague.
And a hairnet.
And a hairnet, yeah, like a shower cap.
Yeah.
You know, like the shower caps you get from a hotel? Put them under your helmet, help keep the hair dry, because when my hair gets wet, it just drips down my back and it just makes me so much colder. I am going to also pack, because I don't like flies, some nets that go over your helmet and over your face. So because apparently some areas are really bad for flies, and you're just cycling through swarms of flies and they're going in your mouth. So we'll have little nets to go over our faces.
Yeah.
So that'll be a random thing.
You do usually carry a mascot, don't you?
Oh, I always have a mascot with me. So I'll probably take Tuomi, my little mountain goat that I got on the top of Tuomele, on my saddle. So yeah, he's a little keyring on the back of my saddle. You bring any?
That's very cool.
Well, I'm not very sentimental, to be fair.
No.
So I'll keep it down to the basics.
But you did buy me Tuomi.
Yeah, I buy sentimental things for you, but I'm not too sentimental myself, so I'll just have my kit.
Yeah.
And what bikes will you be riding?
So we're going to be riding Pinarello, the new gravel bikes. So they're perfect for us because they have all of the mounts on them for mud guards and bike bags and things. And we are actually going to go with mechanical gears rather than Di2, because although we love Di2 and it's so much easier to change gear, especially when your hands get cold, if it goes wrong in the middle of Canada and there's no one around, it's 100 miles to the next place,
We have an issue.
What do you do? Whereas if a gear cable snaps, obviously we'll have gear cables with us, you replace it, you can keep going. So we have to be sensible about that.
Or at least you can get by.
Yeah.
Even if you have to bodge it a little bit, you can get by. So.
Yeah. And all shops will be able to do that, whereas there might be some shops that don't have the part for Di2 if it goes wrong. So yeah, it's just a safer option for us. Yeah.
How did you think about tire choice for something like this? Because I imagine you would want pretty heavy duty to minimize flats, but you also don't want the heaviest, slowest tires for a challenge like this.
Yeah, so we are actually we were supported by Panaracer, so we tried out some of their tyres before, and I really liked them because I did the Tour de France ride, which was 4,000 miles, and I didn't get one puncture the whole time, and I used the same set of tyres for 4,000 miles. So that was like, right, okay, these are the tyres for me. And they're the Agilist Duros, so they're designed for sort of touring, but they're also quite fast. But we are going to go tubeless, aren't we?
Yeah, I did potentially mention like maybe going a little bit wider
Mm.
because usually we run like 30s or 32s. We have been a bit back and forth on like widths because obviously I think the wider, more comfort, lower pressures work better with tubeless also. So that's still a little bit up in the air, isn't it? So
Probably 35s, I think.
nothing too big, obviously for maximising speed and but also for comfort. That's a big factor.
Yeah, because I always ride tubes. I've got tubeless on my gravel bike, but road I always ride tubes, and I'm not very confident with tubeless. So, but from what we've read and people we've spoke to, tubeless is definitely a better option because if it goes wrong, you can always put an inner tube in, and it's less likely to get a puncture. So, yeah, I am actually going to be having mechanic lessons every other week at my local bike shop, and I've got my first one tomorrow, so that I can because I've got 6 months until we go, so I want to get really clued up on everything, just so that I know what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
then
I'll be doing the same.
I can do the mechanics, Kyle.
That'll be a nice change. Yeah.
Because Kyle's building on the building site, aren't you? So
Yeah.
he's not got as much time as me for the mechanic lessons, so I'll have to share my knowledge with you.
That'd be interesting.
I can teach you what they've taught me.
So you have the mechanic training coming up. Is there any, can you walk us through the physical training for something like this? I can imagine you're not doing exactly what you're going to be doing. It would just be way too much time and effort. But how do you train for something like this? I imagine it's long hours or something like that.
Yeah, people have asked us this, and I always kind of think like we've kind of been training since we started cycling because we've built up a really good base from the last 4 years of, a lot of miles each year. So like my first year, I did 10,000 miles for the first 2 years. So I did 10,000 miles in 21, 10,000 miles in 22. And then in 2023, no, sorry, in 22 and 23. Then in last year, I did 12,000 miles. And this year I'm on 13,000. So I do a lot of miles anyway. So I think my body is kind of like just used to that mileage, although next year it's not going to know what's hit it. But I think, it's just what we do is kind of just long miles on a weekend. And then in the week, we do some more intense interval sessions on ROUVY actually. And then combine it with strength and conditioning to prevent injury. And I do some running as well, just to help complement and keep the fitness up. But a lot of the training is, like before I did Tour de France, it is just about doing back-to-back days of riding, which is quite hard to do, especially for you, Carl, when you're working.
I do feel like people always ask the question, and there's not a straight answer to how do you train for something like this. You can't really put a training plan in place and be like, right, this is how many miles you need to ride, or you need to do these sort of sessions. So like you say, we do the base miles, and then I tend to do a lot of interval sessions, obviously, to improve your fitness. And obviously the base miles what keep you going. So
yeah, well, I do have a coach.
Really.
Yeah, I do have a coach, so he sets me out a plan. But like we say, it's quite hard to coach someone to do what we're doing because it's
even the coach says, how do you train someone to do 18,000 miles?
No, he knows. He's really good. But I did speak to someone else, and they were like, "Oh, I'm glad I'm not coaching you because I wouldn't know what to do with you." But we spoke to Mark Beaumont, who obviously has the world record for the fastest man, and he was saying, if you wanted to, you could go and start tomorrow when your body gets fitter. You kind of ride yourself into fitness. But obviously if we did that, we wouldn't probably get the world record that we want to get, the time we want to get, because our body won't be as prepared as it will be in 6 months because we're going to focus on it for the next 6 months. But yeah, it's kind of true what he says. I think you do kind of get fitter as you go, as long as you're fueling yourself properly. I found that on Tour de France. I thought I'd be really tired. By day, I did, it was 29 days and it was kind of like 200 to 250k a day. Some days were longer, obviously through the Alps and the Pyrenees. But actually I found myself feeling better towards the end because I think my body was just adapting and getting used to it. But obviously it's really important to make sure that you're eating enough, because if you're not, then you're not going to get.
And also the biggest thing was recovery.
Yeah.
So sort of on this trip we will try and make sure the recovery is as good as possible. So obviously you're sleeping well, you're eating well. And I feel like if you do those things right, then you will ride better.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you talk us through the nutrition for something like this? Because I imagine it's not race gels. That would just be way too much for way too long of a time. But at the same time, you never want to run empty, but you also don't want to carry 50 pounds of food. So how do you balance that in planning this?
Yeah,
Cardboard.
I think 150 days of gels would not be a good idea for the digestive system. Yeah, so the plan is sort of always have food with us, obviously, enough to at least last a full day and extra. And then we top up every time we're at a little shop. So the plan is porridge in the morning is what I always have. And then we kind of munch as we go on the bike with anything really like carb based, as long as it's
And usually
fuel.
as
Bananas.
much real food as possible.
Yeah, as much real food as possible. We will have some like sports nutrition as well, to go along, like energy bars and things like that, because they're just easy because they've got high energy and it's just one bar. And then in the evening, it'll probably always be the pasta or rice, some sort of meat and veg, and just really basic because it's quick and easy to do and it's quite readily available in most places. But yeah, that'll be the plan. It'll sort of be eat as soon as we get off the bike and try and like wash kit and then go straight to sleep. But in terms of amount of food we're going to have to eat, it's going to be a lot. And I think a lesson I've definitely learned is always have more food with you than you think that you need. So
Some
yeah.
places are more remote in regards to getting food, and that can take up a lot of your time, as we've found out in other things that we've done, like trying to find shops where you can get the food that you need is quite difficult in some countries and on certain days. So
we kind of have the thing now is where like even if we're kind of running a little bit low on food and we're going past a shop, and even if we're not hungry, we'll just stop and get stuff and put it in our bag, because you don't know if you're going to see another one. So yeah, it's always kind of stop before it's too late when you see somewhere is the motto.
and you can never eat enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the good things about bikepacking. You can just eat what you... Well, I mean, your teeth might not be very happy. Your dentist might not approve, but you can pretty much eat what you want.
Your body's an engine, you got to keep it fueled.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to the training aspect, I'm curious about the high intensity interval training, because I think a lot of people won't really expect that you would need to do any of that for a trip like this. So how have you thought about that, and how does that play into the preparation for this?
Yeah, so my coach is basically working with me at the minute. I've actually got a little bit of an injury at the minute, which is due to some new pedals that weren't in the right place. But once that's sorted with my bike fitted tomorrow, I'll be back on my training plan. I've had a few weeks off. He's kind of working with me at the minute to increase my lactate threshold 2. So basically there's lactate threshold 1 and lactate threshold 2. And I had some testing done, and basically we just want to increase my lactate threshold 2, which is basically where your body's producing so much lactate that you can't clear it. It's where you start to get that feeling in your legs of heaviness. Lactate threshold 1 is where your body starts to produce lactate, but you can clear it. So obviously the bigger your gap between your lactate threshold 1 and lactate threshold 2, like the faster you can go without feeling that horrible feeling in your legs and producing too much lactate. So my interval sessions are working on increasing that lactate threshold 2 for me, so that I can push more watts out and be able to clear the lactate, basically doing the same effort. So whereas, like, say for example, now if I do 250 watts, I don't know, I've forgotten my exact numbers, but that means, you know, I wouldn't be able to keep going at that for very long, whereas we're trying to increase it so that I can. Not that when I cycle around the world I'm going to be pushing to my maximum level, but it just means my body will get better at getting rid of lactate. So we're kind of both working on that, aren't we?
Yeah.
So that's the reason we do the intervals, because there's loads of different variations of what we have to do, but there's one called under and overs, which is where you do an interval that is underneath your lactate threshold 2, and then you do an interval that's over it. So you might do an interval, say your lactate threshold 2 is 250 watts, you might do 230 watts for a minute, and then you'll do 260 watts for 2 minutes, and do that, and it kind of just helps your body to get better at clearing lactate. So well, that's what I've been told by my coach anyway. Don't take my word for it.
We'll let you know.
We'll let you know if it's working. So that's one that we do. Another one is just sort of more intense intervals, where it's like 30 seconds going as much maximum power as you can, and then you get like a few minutes rest and you do it again. And I suppose it's all about just improving our overall fitness, but also just improving what we can push out
It's
watts-wise.
not only that as well. So obviously we're trying to go for a record and obviously go as quick as we possibly can with staying consistent. But also you've got to remember these bikes are going to be very heavy. So what would be your normal effort on your standard bike stripped back with nothing on it? There's going to be so much more effort involved just going up a slightest incline on a bike that says 26 to 30 kilos. So you want to be pushing out more power to just maintain a slower speed.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't expect to do high interval training to just ride long miles every day, but you certainly will help.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, those are some super heavy bikes. I imagine with a route like this, you would try to plan the flattest route possible. Is that right?
Yes, that's what we've tried to do.
Yeah.
I mean, some places it's not possible for it to be that flat, but
i.e. Portugal, Spain.
Portugal and Spain, but we're near the end by then, so hopefully we can, if anything's weighing us down, we can ditch it, because we can probably survive on one pair of bib shorts to the end by then and just top up at the shops with food. But yeah, it's there'll be challenges, but as flat as we can is what we've done. We've tried to avoid any mountains.
But we did learn, you go through places like Holland, super flat, then the wind plays a factor. So
the headwind,
So sometimes you don't get the hills, but then you get other challenges. So yeah.
Yeah, on a journey like this with rides that are this long day after day, what metrics are you looking at? Are you pacing yourselves on power or heart rate or anything else?
I think, but when I'm training and when I'm at home and I'm doing my weekend rides, I love looking at my power. I love looking at like that sort of stuff. Now, when I started, I never knew anything about that. I never looked at it at all. I just went out and rode my bike and looked up and enjoyed it. So now when I'm at home, when I'm training, I like looking at my power and my heart rate and things, because it tells me if I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. But if I'm doing a long ride at the weekend, I don't have my power screen on, because cycling for me is about escape and enjoying being in nature and looking around. And yes, it's about definitely a big part of it for me as well is about improving and getting this record and challenging myself. But I think there's a fine balance between power and all of that stuff and then actually just escaping in nature. So I think for the record, I don't think I'll be focusing too much on my power and things. I think it'll just be going with feel, because I think you always know if you're pushing enough or not. I don't know if you'll be the same, Kyle.
No, I was just about to say the same thing. So one thing we learned from doing multi-day stuff before is you're not particularly looking at power. You're not looking at heart rate. You might look at heart rate sometimes in terms of recovery after your ride. Then you can sort of gauge sort of where you are in terms of on a ride, if you're recovering well or you're not in a good place. Or realistically, you're not even looking at speed. You're sort of, every day is going to be different. So you've just got to keep rolling consistently on feel.
Yeah.
That's the best way I found it.
Yeah. We've got to ride in a way that we can sustain it for the
Within
next
yourself,
day. So we don't want to be pushing ourselves. I think if I looked at my watts and they were too high, I'd be like, right, slow down, because we need to sustain this.
Creating muscle fatigue.
Yeah. And it's just about, we're like an engine keeping going, basically. So yeah, and forgetting about speed, because I'm quite harsh. I'm hard on myself sometimes. I like to have my speed at a certain number. I think quite a lot of people do. But actually, you can't think about speed, because you could be pushing hard with those bike bags on and going at a very slow speed compared to what you used to. But I think we just said to each other, like when we did trips before, it doesn't matter what time we finish the day, as long as we finish and we get to sleep. So don't stress about your speed, as long as you can just keep going.
It's always nice to try and gauge sort of where you think you'll be. We usually overestimate, don't we? But
yeah, we always set off in the morning. We're like, right, we'll be there at about like 8 p.m. tonight, and we get there at 6 and we're like, yes.
But it's always nice to know you're there earlier rather than later.
Yeah.
That's a great problem to have. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the communication like on these long rides between the two of you? Has there ever been a moment before where one of you was feeling really, really good and the other one just wanted to stop riding and you had to work through that moment together?
There's been many. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
I think whenever you're cycling in a pair, even if you're cycling in a group, there's always like the different dynamics, and what you're not both going to feel good at the same time and both going to feel bad at the same time. So it's always about sort of supporting each other through the hard bits. We definitely have arguments. I think it would be
We've
normal.
learned a few things.
It wouldn't be normal if we didn't. I mean, when you're both tired, hungry, absolutely drenched and been riding for 8 hours and you're in the dark and then you go the wrong way, maybe because I've pointed us the wrong way, it's not going to be met with, a nice, oh, don't worry, was turned round. There's normally a bit of shouting that goes on. But I think the main thing is that we know that we're going to shout at each other or we're going to get annoyed sometimes, but we just forget about it 10 minutes later and have a laugh about it, don't we?
Yeah.
So, and we have before we did a big ride before, we wrote some little rules down for each other of what we can do to make sure that we don't.
More so, Amy wrote down some rules.
Yeah, well, no, we both wrote them together. They were nice rules. It was stuff like,
the rules were listen to my rules.
Yeah, no, it was stuff like, if we have an argument, don't, you have to both say sorry and let it go, within the half an hour after. Even if you don't think you should need to say sorry, you just both say sorry and you move on, because otherwise, you're just riding being miserable and it's not nice for anyone. But I think one of the tough times is, you can tell them about the Tourmalet one, because that was good for you to help me.
Yeah. So when Amy was riding the Tour de France, it was the first proper big mountain day, wasn't it, really? And the day consisted of 3 mountains, Tourmalet, can't remember the other episode, finished on Super Bagno, which was really tough. And I drove to the top of Tourmalet and thought, right, I'm going to ride down. I'll ride the whole climb with her. And as I was riding down, I was thinking, wow, this place is spectacular. She's going to love this. This is what she's been looking forward to.
Yeah, because Kyle was supporting me by car for this challenge. I was riding on my own and you were supporting.
So I got to the bottom, a bit late actually, and Amy was waiting for me. And as we started riding up, she was feeling really negative about the ride. And obviously I'm feeling super fresh because I've been sat in a car for a week and a half.
I was struggling.
So
really
I was
bad.
really excited. And then we was riding up and it was a bit not very scenic at the start particularly. But then I kept saying to you, look up, wait till you get around this corner. It's going to be amazing. You're going to love the views.
I've practiced Tourmalet on ROUVY as well before. So I already knew the views were going to be good.
You was probably enjoying ROUVY more than
I think I was.
You was in a better headspace.
Yeah.
And as we was riding up it, I was like, look up, you're going to enjoy the view so much. It's going to be so worth it. And all she did was look down at the floor, shout at me and say, I can't see anything but tarmac. So there's been moments like that.
Yeah.
Where but you're not always going to both feel good. And we've had a few. We had some in France before.
Yeah.
Where I was feeling good, you weren't feeling so good. And it can be frustrating for one of you if you're feeling good because you're sort of I want to get to the place we was going to. But then you sort of have to take into account how each other was doing at the time.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just, we support each other through it, which is the good thing.
And
but
sometimes have a bit of silence.
Yeah, sometimes we just don't speak for a few hours.
And that's
ride.
also healthy, I think.
Yeah, but it's we had another one where we were cycling to Prague and Kyle unfortunately fell off on a tram line and he's hurt his knee. And I said, we're not doing any record right now. Why don't you get the train to Prague? Because that's sensible. But no, he wanted to ride. And then he spent the whole last day moaning about his knee, going really slow, complaining. And I was just riding in the front, obviously riding a lot slower than what I wanted to. But in my head, I was just thinking, well, if you got the train, Kyle, this wouldn't be an issue.
But I'm very stubborn.
Yeah. So we have little bits like that. But yeah, we get through it and we always are okay in the end, aren't we? We have the best we have the best times together riding. That's the nicest thing.
And you only remember the good bits, so
yeah.
Look forward to those.
Yeah.
In those moments, those really, really tough moments, is there anything that you say in your own head or say to each other that really helps you get past that moment and to keep going?
For me, it's that nothing is as hard as what I went through in my head when I struggled with my mental health. Nothing is ever as hard as that. So no matter how hard it feels on the bike, it's easy compared to that. So that's what I always go back to. And I also always think to myself, I've chosen to do this ride. There's people with real problems. This is me on my bike, which is a very privileged position to be in. So I can't complain. Obviously, I will complain because everybody does. But I have to say to myself, don't complain. Just take it in. Whatever's happening, it's a lot worse for other people struggling with real problems right now. So get on with it, basically. A bit of tough love to myself. But what do you say to yourself, Carl?
I don't think I've ever told you what I really say to myself,
No.
but I'm usually in my own thoughts. I do go very quiet when
When you struggle, you don't speak.
It's not so much if I'm struggling, but almost like if it's a hard, like for instance, when we was on the way to Prague and it was just torrential rain to the point where no matter what waterproof clothing you're wearing, you're wet to the bone. And I get very in the zone, so I just go quiet and I'm in my own thoughts. I always think to myself, like, we're in this together, just keep moving forward. And I don't know why, but I always have this thing in my head, like, prove that you're tough, prove that, like, don't give up, like, just keep pushing on and then we will get there. And it always does. And I get out of that moment, I'm sort of like, yeah, that helps me through a little bit.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that advice and those thoughts to go through that in your head while also pushing and stuff around on the bike is really, really tough. And to do it with the weather and everything else going on is so tough in that moment.
Yeah. I also think singing a little song also helps me.
Although that doesn't help me.
It doesn't help Kyle, but I make up, but not necessarily when I'm really struggling, but if I'm like a bit, so sometimes it can get a bit boring. Not that it's like there's no views, but you know, when you've been on the bike for 5 hours, it's the same view. I start making up little songs, which I sing out loud, which Kyle isn't a massive fan
They
of.
do entertain me sometimes when it's relentless for a few days.
When you hear the same song.
And maybe if you're lucky, maybe I get involved, but it's not very often.
He does sing quite a lot as well. He just doesn't like people to know.
I've never thought about that before, but is music allowed during a record like this? Can you have a speaker or headphones or anything like that?
So headphones probably not, because it's illegal in certain countries and we don't want to get arrested.
Not all countries, but some.
Yeah, but we have like the bone conduction headphones where you can still hear the traffic and stuff, which we can use in certain countries. But yes, you can have a speaker on your bike, and we are going to have one, definitely.
100%. We say it every time we've been on a trip. And we've not actually done it yet, have we?
No, I don't mind carrying the extra weight of a little speaker on my handlebars, because it honestly, music just makes such a massive difference. I normally always, about 98% of the time, I ride with no music, and I'm just, because I have such a busy head, I can ride without it. But on the long days when you're struggling, like every time I go up a hard climb, or if I am struggling, it's music that can help me get out of the struggle. So
I'm completely different as well.
You always ride with it, don't you?
I'm 95% with music, especially if I'm training, like if I'm in the gym or like if I'm out on a ride, I have to have music. Just sort of takes me out of the mindset of I'm suffering. So, and but it can be nice as well, like looking at nice views, but with nice music on. It's distracting. It's nice.
I always have music on when I'm on ROUVY.
Yeah,
because I think indoor you need music.
Yeah.
So on those long days when it's playing on the speaker, who decides on the music? Is there a certain playlist, or is it all over the place?
It's all over the place.
I think we both decide, don't we? We for Tour de France and for our last one, we actually put like a Spotify link out on our social media and got everyone to add songs in. So we'll probably do that.
There's a lot of funny songs on there, but it's very all over the place. Like we're both very much like loads of different genres of music.
We're both quite similar.
On mood as well.
We're both quite similar. We both like all music, apart from I don't really like heavy metal.
I like some old school stuff.
But other than that, I like all music.
I used to skateboard, so there's a bit of a streak of that in me. But yeah, there's it's a bit of a mixed bag, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we'll put like a Spotify link out, and then anyone can add music in. Like anyone that follows us.
A few of them don't get a bit silly.
But there was like someone put this chicken banana song on on my Tour de France playlist. I was listening to I had the playlist on. It was great because I never knew what song was coming next. So I hadn't made the playlist. And it was all motivational songs and stuff. It was really good. But then this song about chickens and bananas, and then another one about capybaras came on. Yeah. But it made me laugh, so that it worked. But it was quite funny.
I love that idea, because a song like that, it can just get you out of your head, no matter where you are, how much you're suffering. All of a sudden, you're like, what is this song? And then you're thinking about that.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a really good idea, because I'd never thought of that. But yeah, when you don't know what's going to come, it does take you away from what you're actually doing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think if we do a Spotify one, we'll call it Around the World, and I bet there'll be loads of songs about the world. See how many songs we can get about the world.
Maybe even throw some podcasts in there, because we do like a podcast.
Yeah, we can listen to ourselves back on this one.
That's great. I think I've one last question. Is there one thing that you wish you'd known at the start of this journey? Maybe it's for ultra cycling, maybe it's for the logistics or planning, or just about the mental aspect of it. Is there one thing at the beginning that you've learned over time that you wish you knew at the start?
In terms of like from when I started cycling to now, I wish I'd known that. I wish I could go back to the Amy that was very low and depressed and didn't want to be here, and tell her that today would be coming along, and you're going to be happy again, and you're going to be going around the world, and life isn't as bad as you think it is right now. Because at that point, nothing made me happy, really. Obviously, going out on the bike gave me a bit of happiness, but I still wasn't happy. Took a long time to get happy again. So yeah, I've learned that the hard times don't last forever, and the bike has definitely taught me to believe in myself more, because I doubt myself a lot. And every time I do something on the bike, like a big challenge, I always say before, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, or I always have some sort of excuse of like why I might not do it. And then I always do it because I'm so determined. Like, I think the only way I wouldn't finish something is if physically something happened where I couldn't ride because of an injury or something. So yeah, to believe in myself more, and yeah, getting through hard times is possible, is what I've learned. But
I think I'd look back on it in terms of like ultra riding or things like that from the journey at the start. Is I think everyone can be drawn into the fact that you're trying to compare, you're trying to look at other people's statistics, you're trying to create what you think is success for you. And I think the thing I'd say now to myself is everyone's on a personal journey. Everyone's ride's different. What you want out of it is different to what anyone else might want out of the same thing. So treat it as your own journey and try and enjoy that, rather than trying to make a comparison or trying to do what you think other people want to see, or how fast you should be going or what you should be doing. And just do what you want to do. Because I think we all make that mistake at the start where you sort of like, oh, this is what we should be doing, or this is how fast I'm not improving, or yeah. So you not create your own journey and do what you want to do.
yeah, I think that's really good, actually. That's true. I think it's so easy to like put yourself down if you look at someone else's Strava and see what they're doing and compare it to yourself. But
Still think we all do it now. I think
yeah,
it's natural, but
everyone does it a bit. But I think the thing is, you're riding for you. You're not riding for anyone else. And if you're riding for someone else, you're not really riding for the right reason.
it's almost like don't do things. Say if you don't want to do ultra riding, don't do ultra riding, or if you don't want to do a certain event, don't do it.
Yeah.
Some people do events at the start where they're sort of out of their comfort zone, which can be good, but also at the same time, if you don't feel like that's for you, don't do it. And just go on your own journey, whether that be a nice gentle ride or absolutely destroying yourself on a time trial, which everyone's different. So
yeah, I think that's the good thing about cycling. There's so many different things you can do, and
no one does judge you.
no, like you can try it all, but if you try it a few times, it's not for you, then you've tried it and you try something else. But there's gravel riding, there's mountain, there's road, there's racing, there's so many different things. I mean, BMX is a place I've not been, and so is mountain biking. I don't think we'll see that anytime soon, because
I'd pay to see it.
yeah, I think a few people would, because I'm not very confident on gravel, let alone mountain. So we'll leave that. But yeah, I think just do what you enjoy is the main thing.
That's great. I love both of your perspectives, not only on this journey, but also on life. I think they're all connected. I think it's all the same. I love that.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for joining us today, Kyle and Amy. It was great to hear so many of your stories. And to our listeners, where can we follow your journey? I imagine there may not be daily updates because of the internet connection, but where are the best place to follow along?
So you can follow us on Amy Cycling Adventures on Instagram and YouTube, and The Snacking Cyclist on Instagram, which will probably have a lot of snack updates because Kyle is the chief snack supplier.
Certainly on this trip.
But yeah, we're hoping to do sort of every other day on Instagram, and then we'll have a weekly podcast hopefully on YouTube. And all the YouTube videos from the trip. We are going to be vlogging, but it'll all go out when we get home, because we won't be taking a laptop with us and trying to edit videos while trying to break a world record. So that'll give us a good distraction when we get home and we're really tired.
Yeah.
That's great. And you said next year, May 1st. Is that right? All right. We'll look for it then. All right. That's all from us today at the ROUVY podcast. Thank you for listening. And thank you again to Kyle and Amy for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.